welcome to another episode of the Free, Be Fun, Be Fearless. I am Dr. Rana Al-Falaki, your host and founder of Light Changes Coaching, and I am so delighted to be joined by this beautiful, smiling woman today, Bridgette Simmonds. I'm so excited to have her on. It's taken us ages to try to schedule. You're so busy, but it's good. It's all good. So Bridgette is actually very, very dear to my heart. She's a wonderful friend, and actually is someone who was my mentor and trainer for me to become a coach myself. But she's also known as Bridgette the Go Coach, and so she's going to explain to you exactly what that go means. So stand by. And she's also Chief Transformational Officer of the InspHigher, spelled as Inspire You Higher Corporation. So we're going to talk so much today about journeys, about how to get out of ourselves when we feel held back by how we've been brought up, how our parents have brought us up, to become our true selves and make those transitions in our life, both professionally and personally. So, hi Bridgette, welcome.
Hi, Rana. What a great intro. Thank you. Thank you. And yes, I actually like to use the word active instead of busy. I'm very active.
You are very active
Yes.
in more ways than one. This is
Oh my
very
God.
true. This is very true. I shall adopt that term now.
It feels better. It feels better than busy.
Actually, it's true, because busy almost suggests that you don't have time,
Yes.
which is
Yes. And active, because the thing about time, what I've learned and what I talk to my clients about is when I hear someone say, I would love to do XYZ, but I don't have time. To me, I translate that as it's not my priority. And that's because time, everybody has time. The millionaires, billionaires, the most busiest people on the planet have time, the same amount of time. But what's prioritized gets done. So I'm active, prioritizing a whole bunch of things, which makes it challenging, but I'm so happy we're together.
absolutely. Time is abundant when we come at it from that energy level, right? There is always
Yeah,
time.
always, always, always.
So tell us about the Go, Bridgette the Go Coach.
Yes. So some people believe because I am so active that it means that I'm always on the go. And maybe I should change my name because I'm kind of living into that space. There's so much power in words. But I actually wanted, when I started my coaching and training and speaking business, I really, because I love words so much, which is why I also played on the words inspire to put higher in there, is the Henry David Thoreau quote, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've imagined. I love that quote. I believe that when we're all born, we should get that on a piece of paper beside our birth certificate, because that is the marching orders. And that is absolutely what I intend to infuse and inspire in every person that I speak to, that I talk to, that I train, and that I coach, is that I want them to tap into the innate power inside of them, that they can go confidently in the direction of their dreams and live the life that they've imagined. So that's where Bridgette the Go Coach comes from.
Beautiful. And yeah, and it does take it, so you have to read it a couple of times, because you end up thinking it should be the go-to coach, and actually that's not even it is the case. Again, it's that play on words again, but there's so much more to it that inspires it. I love finding out what inspires these things. So inspire higher.
Inspire higher is to take it to another level. When we go higher, thinking about physically higher, if we're in a tall building and we go up the elevator or the lift, up and up and up, when you're in higher levels, you can see so much. You can see the world and the horizon. Your perspective completely shifts, and options are abundant to you that you really are not able to grasp and see at lower levels. Not only that, but we all want higher levels of energy, of money, of success, usually higher, the better. And if you're on an emotional high because you've experienced and tasted the greatness that life has for you, then that's what I also intend to infuse with my business and everything that we touch.
Yeah. And of course, using the word inspire, inspire having that meaning in spirit, which again, we're not talking about anything religious. We're talking about to be in spirit. It may be the thought of, oh, in the spirit of things, which is to do with kind of the feelings, but it's about the energy, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's about
Yeah.
bringing being in that place of such high energy where you're in flow, you're in creativity, and you're able to fly high.
Yeah. And your spirit, talk about in spirit. Your spirits are high. Who would not want high spirits and to be in high spirits? So those are the intentions that I infuse in every single project that we engage in.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So listen, I know some things about your story, and we were just talking before we hit the record button about some of the things that you've been through, and I can certainly relate to them. And I suggested to you, well, one thing I've often heard you mention, or that I've picked up has been a potential issue, is this desire to please your parents, and yet have to this difference between seeking approval and doing what you know is right for you. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I read a post a couple weeks ago and I just nodded and agreed. It said that people pleasers often start out as parental pleasers or something to that effect. And I thought, oh my gosh, this post has diagnosed me. And it's so true that we are oftentimes raised in a space where our parents who do the absolute best that they can with what they have and what they know, and oftentimes parent the way they were parented. And shout out to my mom and dad, my biggest cheerleaders, biggest inspiration, my first and original and amazing life coaches to this day. I honor them so, so greatly. And as I've become my own woman and looking back and questioning myself and looking at my desires for life and my level of happiness and enjoyment and fulfillment, I started to ask myself, what do I really want? And not only what do I want, but why do I want it? And when I started this exploration, it came around, a year or so within corporate America. I followed the path that many people tend to follow, that the people and generations before them shared were what leads to success and comfort in society, which is typically an education, get a higher education in the form of a degree. Then after you get a degree, you're able to be hired more, then you can earn more, and you can live a comfortable life. So that becomes the mantra or the thing that's taught. And as parents who immigrated from the beautiful island of Jamaica to the US, they wanted better and more for their children than they had and that their parents had. To each generation gets more and more success. So growing up in the household, it was expected of me to, of course, do my studies, get good grades. And as young people, we tend to watch and take in the energy of our parents and our caregivers. We watch for their approval, whether it's a smile or a verbal approval, or we also see the other side, which we know we've done something out of their desires, which is a scowl or punishment, or you verbally are told, no, not that way, this way. So from the time we're small, we get infused with directions, not only from our caregivers, our parents, and the like, but also our peers in society around us that reinforce this is the right way, this is the best way, this is the good way, that's the not good way. So as young people, we start to take in all of these messages, and these messages start to form grooves called neural pathways in our brain around what to do and what not to do, what pleases and what doesn't please. And I couldn't have even had this conversation with you 20 or so years ago because I was in the midst of this conditioning and this training. And when I started questioning was when we all typically start questioning is out of a space of discomfort. I was sitting in my cubicle at my corporate job because I ticked all the boxes. I got a degree, tick. I got a job, tick. Bought a house, tick. Car, yay. And I wasn't feeling what I thought I would feel. Like I thought, now when we do these things in anticipation of what's to come, we imagine the streets paved with gold and joy and people singing up every day. And I was thinking, is this all there is? Is this what we've been working toward with the degree and the job? Because I don't feel what I thought I would feel. Now, how I was supposed to feel, I don't know where that thought came from. But if I'm being led on this path and this journey by parents and by society and peers, I figured that we were in a space of greatness. And I didn't feel that way. So that's where my questioning began. Okay, why am I here at this job? Okay, because everyone says it's the best thing to do. Okay, look around and my friends are doing the same thing. My peers are on the same path. Am I happy? No. What would make me happy? I don't know. And that's when people tend to just get right back into the loop of unhappiness. And I did that for a little while, but I've always been the curious type. I used to get on my mom's nerves by asking why incessantly. She'd answer a question and I'd say, but why? She'd answer the question, but why? I had to know. And nothing changed when I was 22 years old in this corporate gig, not exactly happy. And I wanted to know why. So I started on a journey, and actually, my mom gave me a book called To Be Told when I was chatting with her about how I was feeling a bit dismayed and that I'd been duped, that I did everything right. I thought, why don't I feel happy? And in that book by Dan Allender called To Be Told, it said, how to figure out what God put you on this planet to do is to follow a common theme. What's been your common thread? What do people come to you for always? What do they compliment you about? For me, it was since I was a little girl, Rena, Bridgette, I just have to talk to you. Or I'd be on the phone for hours listening about boy drama with my friends or what have you. And I loved it. They loved to talk to me and I loved to listen. And as I found myself reflecting on why am I not happy and what do I enjoy doing or what's my common thread, talking to me happened to be the common thread or thing that people came to me for. And that's when I started to understand that perhaps there was something different for me. And by this point, though, I was in a place of confusion because I'm thinking, well, I can't start over. I'm making nice living. I have these things I've bought, this house, this car, need to keep those up. So I took this knowledge that I had around what would light me up and just placed it to the back of my mind until I was laid off many years later, which brought me back to the question of why am I doing this? Why am I here? So, long story short, I stayed in corporate America for about 15 years or so. But after the shakeup of my layoff and the questioning of what am I doing this for and why, I started to come to the conclusion that I was doing this to be pleasing. I was doing this to get along. I was doing this to be a part of the tribe. Tribe meaning my familial tribe that I grew up with and what their expectations were of me, my peer tribe and what they were doing, and how I, to get along with the tribe, to maintain my status and my being, because we all have a need to be a part of something and to be included, that if I were to go anywhere different, who would I be around and who would be with me? So it was at that time that step by step, I started to really discover and ask myself, what do I want? And how do I feel when I actually engage in what I want? And am I weird? Am I strange? And for a while, I did keep it pretty private. I still maintain the face at work in corporate, doing a good job. Yes, everything's going well. But behind the scenes in my downtime is when I would start to dive into books of personal development. And the world just opened my mind up to so many possibilities of rightness with knowing thyself and honoring thyself. And then I found coaching, I got training. And what's funny about that, before I go into the angels singing part of the story where I figured it out, which I'm still figuring it out. I think life is a journey of continual unwrapping and figuring. I still followed the path. I was still thinking that the only way to shift was to get another degree. So I went back and sought higher education, getting a psych degree that was master's. And even in that, realized that wasn't the path. That was close, but it wasn't the path. So invested in that, still paying back that student loan that it turns out that I didn't necessarily need. Now, do I regret it? No, I have knowledge. But at the end of the day, what I've grown to understand is once we begin to ask ourselves, who am I? What do I enjoy? What's fun to me? What makes me feel free? Those questions we know the answer to. We may need some outside help and support in getting there, because often doing that by ourselves can be not as clear. So, getting a coach or someone to talk to about those questions and to dig that out, it's immeasurable the level of ease that we find with knowing that we had it all along, and that there's a point at which we start to question why we're doing what we're doing, and to see if it's in the space of honoring our parents, or if it's in the space of honoring who we truly are. Because though we're a piece of them, we are not them. We are not their plans or their rules or any of that. We are our own beings, and their role are to provide life and guidance and a space for us to figure out who we truly are so that we can be fearless and feel free and have fun along the way. And at a point, if you're not having fun, I was not having fun working full time. I just was not. I had fun here and there, but consistent to my soul fun, not quite. And that's usually a symptom of what am I doing
Yeah.
and why am I doing it and for who am I
And
doing it?
you know what? I think people do forget that why are they here? Because we do. We seek approval. We want our parents to approve of us. Like you say, we want our tribe to approve of us. We so often, even the whole feeling of being happy, we seek happiness. We seek that sense of fulfillment within us, be it through approval or anything else, through external sources. And that doesn't just include, like you said, the house, the car, the degree, the tick boxes. It also includes the opinions of people around us. And if I share my own experience, I know when I decided, after 20 plus, 25 years as a dentist, 20 years as a top specialist, one of the world's top specialists in my field, to decide to go and do a coaching course, albeit an incredibly wonderfully accredited 1-year coaching course. Because of course it had to be the best one. Again, a bit like the whole degree thing, right?
Mhm.
It had to be. It says a lot about this confidence inside us, doesn't it? And yeah, I find with my clients, I've noticed the same thing. They want to transition in their career, and they're talking about the degrees, and I'm thinking, hello already. What's the degree going to give you? You just got to do it. But anyway, I digress. But I noticed myself, I didn't have the guts to tell my dad
Mm.
this is what I was going to do. And then I sort of secretly discussed it with my brother and my sister, because obviously I was still running my business, I was still working in my clinic, and then I've started this coaching course, and I've started writing this book as well, and I'm going to do all these different things, because I was so worried about the approval factor.
Yeah,
And I
it's you.
think so many people can relate to that, but it in many, obviously I transitioned it, but for so many people, that approval is a massive, massive barrier that they just find so difficult to overcome. Now, obviously, you and I are examples of having overcome it, but what advice would you give to people when they do feel so paralyzed about the seeking approval and not being able to do what they truly desire?
Well, first, to honor that feeling as being real, that it goes so much deeper than the here and now. We are people that are tribal. We aren't created or designed to be entities unto ourselves. And so to scan a group of people that we love and desire to be around or have always been around, to understand the rules and the modes of what makes everyone say, okay, that's fantastic. And others say, no, we don't do that here. It's a normal thing. And to feel paralyzed because you're afraid of it is normal and natural as well. Here's what I will say is it's not always easy, and also it's not as hard as we think. So I'll tell you, when I was about to make that move of leaving corporate America and pursue being an entrepreneur, I told my biggest cheerleaders and also two people that are entrepreneurs. So I thought this is going to be fabulous. It's right in their wheelhouse, my parents. So I talked to them together on the phone every Sunday and I said, hey, I have fantastic news. I'm going to leave and pursue this coaching thing, I've been studying for. Rena, the way that they freaked out and they started feeding my own fears that I had overcome enough to make this decision. Oh my gosh, are you sure? I don't think that's what you need to do. It hurt me so deeply. I instantly got off the phone and just sat there and cried for a long time because I thought, I'm not being approved right now. I'm not being affirmed. I thought I was confident. It started making me question my decision, but I felt so convicted about this being the right time and for me going after it to really do this and take a chance on myself. And I thought for sure that they would have my back about it. So for them not to really shook me. And it also didn't stop me. It did for a while. That evening, I got some ice cream and really started rethinking it and, sitting there for a moment, but it gave me a little bit more resolve. I said, I'm going to actually show them I can, and it's time. So I went with my plans and got myself situated for the next few months. And I finally set my date that I was going to leave my job, and I did not tell them. I excluded them from any updates because if that's how they were going to act about it, and I knew they were doing this out of love and out of protection, and they wanted me to be safe, and they felt as loving parents that I might have been putting myself in a position to struggle, and no parent wants to see their child struggle at all. So I don't see it as that they were coming against me or thinking that I couldn't do it or that I was incapable. It was just their own worries, which I will say our tribe, our people, our community around us, they can only give us their advice or their thoughts based on their own way they see the world. It doesn't matter how much they love you, how well they know you or understand you. What comes out of their mouth as it pertains to you, your life, your goals, your plans, is always colored by the way they see the world. Always, always, always. So
And I think we have
knowing
to say that's a bit like the second layer, because you were already there, and the conversation I will often have, and I'm sure you do too, with clients and friends, when you get someone who's really angst because they're not, they feel like they want people to support them and they're either not being supported by their friends or their family, is to turn it around and just say, well, why that message is not necessarily there to hinder you or put you down. It so often is coming actually from a place of love. Like you say, it's their filters.
it is
The first
always.
thing is for us not to react emotionally to it, which
Yeah.
again,
Well, actually, we can. We can. You can. You can. I always want to give permission to that. React emotionally, fall on the ground, cry, eat a pint of ice cream, whatever it is. I want to normalize that because a lot of times we feel that those types of uncomfortable feelings means this isn't it, it's wrong, I shouldn't do this. And that is not why uncomfortable feelings happen. They happen because we love, because we care, because we're human. And if we pay attention to the message that they're sending and also know that there's another feeling that may come behind it, then you can be okay with it. So I want to say react because you wouldn't be human and you wouldn't care, which you wouldn't be paralyzed if you didn't care. And so what it did for me, only because to your point, Rena, because I'd made up my mind, I was firm in what I needed for me. So when I said that, expecting support for what I'd already decided and I didn't get it, of course it rocked me. It knocked me off my square. It made me sad. It made me angry. And then the next day, because I was so solid in what I wanted to do, I was able to still keep moving forward. So what I would say is,
which was just that it reflects back. You do react, but sometimes we have to accept that we can't change that person, but we can change how we feel about it. And what that lesson taught you, and what will often teach someone else when they do have that emotional reaction, is what does that say to you? And it also solidifies you and who you are back to the stance of actually this is me. And maybe sometimes you need to do a bit more work to stand firm in who you are, so that so that you can progress, which I think is the stage you had already got to from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I did. And I love that you said that because it made me get more prepared than I was in that time. So they were partly right. I wasn't necessarily as ready in April to leave, but by October that year I was. But their their fear about it made me push in and lean into it stronger. And then I excluded them from all updates until it was really time for me to leave. So that's my second piece of advice. My first piece of advice is understand it may be more difficult than you think, and it also may be more easy than you think. Because you're always thinking and making up what someone in your tribe that you're afraid of is going to say. Secondly, surround yourself with people who get it, who are only supporting you about it. Even if they don't get it, but they're like, go for it. Find those people. So when I found in that space time, my parents couldn't be that because they were afraid for my security. I excluded them from my announcements. I still talk to them every week, still love them. But around leaving and doing the thing that they were casting fear on me, I didn't talk about it. I then purposely only talked about it with my coach and with other peers that supported it. So that'd be my second piece of advice is surround yourself with people that are supporting it and throwing fire, flame, fuel in your fire of get after it. Thirdly, I would say create a plan. Be clear about what it is you're envisioning and what you want out of it. And then because security is a need for us, not only for the security and securing our spot within our tribes, but also security sometimes financially, especially if you're looking to make a big move, is create certainty within the uncertainty of being about to take a leap. Like I'm sure you did that when you were leaving your practice. And a lot of people the reason why they freak out when one is leaving a place of perceived success, which by the way, success is defined so differently by everyone. But they look at you and by all stretches and on paper, Rena's at the pinnacle. What else does she have need of? But if inside you don't feel as fulfilled, then you might make a move that on the outside doesn't make sense, quote unquote. And you then have to create certainty within the uncertainty of making that leap from one spot to another spot. And whatever that means, whether it's creating a savings of some sort that as you're transitioning, you feel safe enough to handle what you need to financially, or whatever it is to create that space of what you know that's going to hold you and be certain becomes critical.
Can you give us another example?
Absolutely. So besides a budget and savings to create certainty within uncertainty, if you're starting to honor your truth and separating from living someone else's truth, it also may look like creating people around you that no matter what, you can go to and know that that's a certain place for you to receive messages that you need to get. Another place to create certainty might be reimagining your life. And what I mean by that is, I was living in a space of utter comfort with corporate job, 2 times a month pay, and benefits and health insurance and all of those things. So before I made this jump from one cliff to the next, I needed to situate my life in such a way that I felt that I could comfortably manage the transition period. So I started to take away some things I was spending money on that I really didn't need in service to my dreams. And that's another space of discomfort that we feel we don't want to get into the uncertainty of. I didn't want to do without cable, but I realized, would I rather watch TV or would I rather watch my life unfold the way that I'd like? I'm cutting the cable. So those creature comforts that we sometimes want to maintain our life the way that it looks and feels and everything's in it. Basically, to wrap up, creating certainty within uncertainty is perhaps make a list of all the things you're afraid of, shifting and changing and moving. And then maybe on the other side of that list, understand what can go and what you still can stand on and feel certain about.
Yeah, the writing list, the getting, because of course, again, we're just a ton of emotions and energy running through us all the time. And we don't necessarily, of course, as we become more conscious, we start to recognize what those feelings mean. But when we're trying to make something like a decision like that, where the feelings can really, we can feel paralyzed by that fear, actually getting it out, which is, of course, is something we do in a coaching conversation, or even just that writing process where you then see it reflected back at you, it never seems as frightening. And it obviously, you have your answers right there in front of you. Okay, why am I going to do it? Actually, you know what, it is more important than cable. I can make this transition, and then I can get all the cable TV I want if I'm still that person who wants the cable TV.
Exactly.
But how worth it is it going to be? So that exercise of visioning, of putting yourself in that vision and engaging, when we talk about vision, not so much with the seeing, it's just part of the visioning process, but it's tapping into the feelings of what it would be like, feel like to achieve that, and to really engage in those feelings is such a powerful process to shift us forward.
So powerful. So powerful. Visioning is one of my favorite, most powerful things you can engage in. And we do it all the time without recognizing we do it. A lot of times, what we're envisioning is what we don't want, or scenarios that have already happened that we wish happened differently. And what if we used our visioning skill? Because our mind and what we imagine in our mind doesn't discern the difference between what's really truly happening and what we're making up. That's how we can get so engrossed and involved in a great book, or in movies and films, or even images that we see on social media, and how it can make us feel angry. It can make us laugh out loud. It can make us feel sad watching it. In fact, I was watching a video yesterday. It started off these two people, a guy and a girl, that they were best friends, and it had some the words about their story. It says, "Hi, this is my best friend," whatever her name was. "We've been best friends since high school, and we went to prom together." And it's got this sad music, and he's saying how much he misses her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? I'm feeling so sad. Like, the pictures and the images that they keep showing of him and her together, dressed in costumes and laughing together and eating. And he's saying throughout in the subtitles how much he misses her. And I'm like, oh, this is so sad. I get to the end, and it's actually a funny video, because at the end he said, "You may ask why I'm making this tribute. It's because she didn't answer my FaceTime call yesterday." And I say that, I mentioned this goofy story because these kids, and they were probably 19 years old. It was adorable. But for the first 50 minutes of the 60-minute video, my emotions were so low and sad for this poor young lad who misses his friend. And I can't wait to find out why. And I find out why, and it made me laugh. And that's the power of vision and envisioning things, is we oftentimes also allow outside things to, and I'm holding up my fake phone here, outside things to create visions for us that take us every which way. So really taking time and space for yourself to utilize, what do I want? How do I envision my life? And feeling that sense of certainty about what's next happens there first in your mind's eye.
But it is a very difficult thing to do. I mean, I've had the first chapter of my book is what do you really want? People get stuck there. I had one lady, she just messaged me 6 months after buying the book, said, "I've just made my way past chapter 1." And you can download off the website, you can download a whole audio with the music, with the subliminal music to help you do it. But it's just about letting go of the reins. Just make a start. Be brave enough to voice, because we know what we want. Of course, what happens is the logical mind takes over, and we ask someone the question, "What do you want?" And they'll start reeling out all the things that they don't want. It's like, that isn't what I asked you. But it's about having the guts of what's really in here and in your heart, and being willing to voice it. Because if we can't voice it, and we can't voice it to other people, how do we expect to take the actions and the steps for it to happen in the first place?
Yeah, I love that. It makes me think of a mural that's painted here in Florida. I pass quite frequently, and it's huge. It says "Start anywhere." And I just love that. Because, like you said, the logical mind takes over. It starts to be logical. What about this? What about that? I don't want to get it wrong. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. First, there is no right or wrong. You take a step, or you start wherever you start. And then you get information that informs the next stop or start or turn, what have you. But so many times, like that woman that reached out to you, what do you really want? People, we get paralyzed by that question. What do you really want? Because A, we're afraid we're not going to get it. So let me not even say it out loud in case I don't set myself up for disappointment. But that doesn't matter, because if you want it and your heart wants it, and you even have the thought to answer such a question as what do I want, saying it gets you that much closer. And even if you don't know how you're going to end up there, a lot of times we think we need to know the end story. Like in 2016, when I left my job to make this jump to go after this full time, did I know that in 2020 there was going to be a pandemic and that I would be afraid, and that my business is booming more than it was pre-pandemic? I would have never have guessed that. If you would have told me in 2016, hey, in just a few years' time, there's going to be a worldwide epidemic that's going to shut everything down. First, I wouldn't have believed that news. It would have been like, what? That's weird. But even if I would have gotten that news or anything else, I may have not ever have left. I would have stayed right there in the job because fear. So start anywhere. Start without knowing every single thing, and trust that you know you're capable enough to figure it out. And furthermore, let's say that you don't. Let's say that it doesn't work out as you wanted to. Some people call that a failure. That's just a label. But really, it's just it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. Because if it worked out the way you wanted it to, you wouldn't be calling it anything except your beautiful life. Think about people that you marry and that you divorce later. You're like, oh, that was a failure. That was a mistake. No, because if it went well, you'd be happy. It just,
There is no mistake.
no.
And you know, one of my lines is always, it's no regrets. You know, everything is a learning opportunity. It makes us who we are. And sometimes maybe we were supposed to learn certain lessons on that path and it didn't turn out the way we had necessarily envisioned. But usually if we keep going, maybe divert a little bit, get back on another path, but we'll then look back 5-10 years later and realize actually in the end it all worked out for the best.
It always does. It always does, even if it stinks and it's uncomfortable along the way. So, yeah, so start anywhere and then answer the question that your book starts with: what do you want?
Yeah, I mean, I take people after that fearful bit. I think I give them lots of congratulations that if they even wrote one thing down, and then we take them through the whole process till they get there in the end, and then can
Yeah.
identify. But it was interesting just what you were saying. So you knew in your heart of hearts what you wanted. So your parents' triggers, yes, you ate the ice cream. Yes, you took another 6 months, but you got there in the end.
Yeah, I did. And it's because I really decided, which is where we eventually get if we want to honor ourselves and not other people. I decided that what I wanted is above what anybody else wants. And being willing to feel ostracized from your parents or from your peers, being willing to, you may not even, because often people love you no matter what. There may be a ruffle or a rough patch or discomfort with the initial announcement of such or the initial decision to honor thyself. But I'd rather, and I'm going to butcher this quote. It's, I think, by Michael Pastore, something about I'd rather be at war with the world than to be at war with myself internally. Ah, that is it. In that moment, war is a strong word, but I was in battle and in conflict with, do I keep what my parents feel is comfortable going, i.e., my full-time job, so that I don't feel this discomfort or this rub now of them saying, no, not now, you're not ready. So do I maintain the peace, but really not be at peace with myself? At a certain point, we all have to weigh the cost of just keeping the peace and realizing and asking ourselves, how at peace am I really? And being willing to be kicked out and ostracized and judged, being willing to cry, to feel uncomfortable, and to really assert. This is the direction I'm headed. I don't need your acceptance. I'm just telling you. That feeling is ultimate freedom. Ultimate freedom. And although we may feel, and I know that there are some families that are a bit severe that actually will stop talking to you if you make certain decisions that you feel more honored by. And that does hurt. That really does. I have a client I actually spoke with a week ago who made the conscious decision to not talk to her parents anymore 5 years ago. And I was thinking as I'm hearing that, because I'm looking through my lens of how much I adore mine, I couldn't imagine that. But for her and her life and for her journey and the way that they would speak to her and make her feel, and they had for all of her 47 years of living, it was the highest and best choice for her peace that she had to make to honor herself.
Now, I have
And
another question here.
yeah,
Because what's coming to mind is there will be some people, because we're talking a lot about the I, and some people will think, oh, it's a bit egotistical, you're just thinking of yourself. How can we overcome? Because I imagine, and I know again from what other people would tell me and clients, is sometimes people think I can't do what I want because they feel it's selfish, and then
mm,
they feel guilty.
yeah.
What would you
So
say about that?
yeah, I say that that's a real feeling too. And
Mhm.
I always start with honor. Honor what comes up for you. Honor that, and then we go from there.
Mhm.
So, whenever guilt comes around, guilt is an emotion that tends to come around when you have a certain value and you feel like you're not honoring it. So if you have a value of caring for other people and being selfless, naturally, of course, you're going to feel like if I'm self-concerned, that goes against who I am. I love other people and I care for other people. That is true. And there's not an either or. There's not either other people or me. Otherwise, you will be living that way. And I would venture to say anyone who has that first rise up of, I is so selfish. I would love to dig into your life because I guarantee you there's somewhere inside you you're worn out and you feel resentful of the people that you love to worry about first before yourself. There is a reason why, and this is overused, but it's so valuable. The airplane put on oxygen for yourself first before doing others. It's so critical. If you are so selfless and so loving of other people and you want to continue that, your health and your wholeness is of paramount importance. In order to do that, I love caring for other people. I'm one of those. I wear myself out being there for other people before myself to the point where I will physically get sick. And that's my reminder. I shouldn't push it to that point, but I have, even as early as last week. But there comes a place where you either do it, take care of yourself by choice or by force. So if you disagree with me in terms of saying I and my feelings and my needs and my happiness shouldn't come first, you have every right to feel and believe that. But I'm pretty sure that that's going to run out at a certain point because caring for your vessel that cares for others needs to happen first. I show up as the most strongest daughter and sister and friend that I ever did now that I'm honoring my truth of who I am than I did when I was playing a role that I felt like I needed to.
And I would add to that to say, aside from that, it's who's living your life ultimately, especially when we become adults. How much time are we spending with our parents to desperately need that approval? And I'm not saying it's wrong. Again, like I don't believe there's a right and wrong, but ultimately, it's our life. If we talk about transitions, and I share something personal, I remember when I was getting divorced, and again, the guilt and the turmoil, and I had young kids. It was actually my closest friends who, it was nothing to do with pushing me in that direction or proving, but every time I wobbled, because I knew what I needed to do for me, and of course then the guilt, etc. But it was the messages that people kept reminding me, saying, you only have one life, so how do you want to live it?
Yeah. It's critical. It is so true. How do you want to live it and who do you want to live it for? And I love that you brought up the point about the parental approval. It's not our fault that we still may seek that, even if we're fully grown individuals, because for the good part of your formative years, most of us were raised to be obedient. So to try to, it's just like any other habit. If we've done anything like brushing our teeth, hey, dentist, and brush our teeth every single day since we were young, I guarantee it's so ingrained in who we are that it's just automatic. So it's a natural automatic thing. I still want to be pleasing to my parents, but there are points where I just want to ask myself, how do I feel right now? And who am I honoring? And it's okay also too if in the moment you honor them because that's okay. It's your choice to do that. But
Yeah.
long-term honoring of other people's needs before your own has dire consequences, is the point.
And does it wears you out because we keep on giving, 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 and without filling ourselves up again, filling up the tank. But it's so
Yeah.
so if we carry on with your story, so I know you obviously you trained and you are this phenomenal coach and this phenomenal speaker, and just to inspire, your presence is just up to die for. You could listen to you for hours and hours all day long. But you are this incredible person. This is the person I see. But of course, you weren't always like this. You did your coach training and then you went and hid.
I did. I did. First, thank you for the very, very kind words. But oh my gosh, did I hide out? The process of getting where you want to get is not a straight line. It's not linear by any stretch. You get to meet so many monsters along the path that threaten to tell you to turn around and to stop because, again, comfort, certainty. So I went through the process of asking myself, why am I in this cubicle? I'm not that happy. What is for me? Learning that I like to talk to people and to support people and help them. Went back to get a higher degree because I thought the path to success in any area was a degree. Not true. It has its place. But I went back, and as I was studying for that, this isn't quite scratching my itch of what I want to do. Found coaching, engaged in the year-long program that you went through also too, Rena, and loved it. But I was in a bit of a bubble of the training. It's almost like training wheels. I was able to flex the coaching and practice it and enjoy playing in that space, but I still had my full-time job. I was still able to pay my bills and still very safe. The moment came where I needed to make a decision to honor this new path that I'd found that really lit me up, or to stay on the path of certainty of bill paying and what I called responsibility, because that was it's still a huge value of mine, is to be a responsible adult, because it was, again, what my parents raised me to do. But there was just this feeling. So as I finished and wrapped up my training, because I didn't know what to do next, I couldn't answer the question in your first chapter, what do I want? Even though I could, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to engage in this fun of coaching full time. I wanted to quit my job. But logic kicked in, was like, girl, you can't do that. How are you going to make money? Where are you going to get clients? You can't, all of the questions. And because of that fear, I just put my head down and started saying to myself, well, maybe I just need to focus on work. Maybe the reason I'm not feeling fulfilled is because I'm not focused. That didn't work because it wasn't the answer. So I did go into hiding. And then what got me out of hiding is me asking myself once again, what is it that you really want to do? And my answer was, I want to do this full time, but I didn't know how, or at least I thought I didn't. So I decided to do what great coaches do, and I hired a coach to help me answer those questions, to get out of my head, to list on paper what my goals were, to create the certainty that I was clinging on to within the uncertainty that I wanted to jump to. Because if I was valuing certainty, then I needed to find it within the space that I was deeming as so uncertain that I didn't want to go there. And that's when I started to do those things I mentioned to you, visioning what the kind of future I wanted, cutting back on expenses to create more certainty of my ability to pay my bills, which was what I was concerned about. So I started listing all the things I'm afraid of not being able to do. And then I created a response to each of those things, because without that, they would just keep floating. They would just keep floating unanswered and unfollowed. And so bit by bit, step by step, I created my world to fit my leap. And that still wasn't without a whole lot of fear. I developed what I thought was a heart condition. Oh my gosh. I gave my notice. I gave about a 2 month notice because I adore who I was working for. She was pregnant, so I didn't want to just leave her with 2 weeks. So I gave her a full 2 months. And oh my gosh, I started having these heart palpitations. Like it literally felt like my heart was leaping in my chest. And I thought, oh my God, I've never felt that before. Let me get this checked out before I have to shift my insurance. Because my insurance with corporate was better than what I have now. It's still good, but it wasn't like supreme. So while I still have this good insurance for 2 months, went to a heart specialist. Never went to a heart specialist before in my life. I was only 36 at the time. I go there, they put me on a heart monitor, Rena, for 7 days. I have to report every time I feel this feeling. Also did an EKG, all these tests. Go back to the doctor 7 days later thinking, tell me what's wrong, doc. He said, Bridgette, we can't find anything. Anything. He said, didn't you tell me you just quit your job? I said, yeah, I'm leaving in about a month. He said, that's exactly what this is. He's like, sometimes our heads can produce feelings in our bodies that are very real, and they feel real because our minds and our bodies are connected. He's like, go out there and succeed. You'll be fine. You have nothing wrong with your heart. And after that, I've not felt that feeling anymore. But I say that to say, oh my gosh, was I scared? Scared of falling, scared of failing. Even after 1 year's time of being without this full-time job and doing really, really well, I worried myself into back pain the end of that first year because I was like, okay, year one went well. Can I do it for a second year? Ridiculousness. If we let our minds rule us, it'll take us on a whole trip through a jungle swinging through trees of
So,
craziness.
yeah, I take people through when I do my meditate with dance classes. I take them through the final meditation at the end, where when they're not dancing. And the one they love the most, the visual, is when there's like, you're standing on the top of a mountain, so you've got these beautiful views, and the rucksack is there with the parachute in it. And you put the parachute on and you strap it in, and you know 100% that parachute is going to open. And so you take this massive running leap off this mountain, because you've created the certainty within the uncertainty. And you're in this lovely subliminal, I mean, honestly, I watched them on the video, the ones with the video on, and the smiles on their face, because you take the leap knowing the parachute is going to open, you're going to land, and you're going to be fine, and you're going to enjoy all of this amazing scenery at the same time. It's that true kind of merging between fearlessness and freedom, as well as, of course, fun, which is why the podcast has the person in the parachute, jumping, because it encompasses all three. And so I think what you said, for me, the one that homes the most, I mean, obviously all this stuff we have to know about being true to ourselves and doing the work on ourselves, because that keeps propelling us to stand for who we are and do what's right for us, engaging in our passions, our purpose. But the bit about creating the certainty within the uncertainty, to me, feels like it's the key and the lock for so many people.
It is. It really, really is. I love that visual, by the way. That's amazing. I got chill bumps when you talked about it, and we weren't even doing it. See the power of vision? So, yeah, certainty. So, Tony Robbins talks about the 6 needs we all have as humans, and they are certainty. We need to know things are going to be the way that we've known them to be certain. We need it to be certain. This is why chains like McDonald's are so popular, because when you walk into one here or in the UK, you know what you're going to get generally. It's certainty. It speaks to that need we have as humans. We also need uncertainty or variety. Variety is the spice of life. We like sweet surprises, not necessarily surprises that hurt us, but we still do like to have uncertainty. Otherwise, we get bored easily with the certainty that we also need because we're crazy. So, certainty and uncertainty are the first two. The third is love and connection. which why those are together is we all really, really want love as a human need, but sometimes we settle for just connection because love is too painful to get into. So love and connection is the third need. The fourth need is significance. We all have a need to feel important and significant. And then the final two are the two that must be met in order to feel a sense of fulfillment in your life. And those final two are growth and contribution. We need to feel like we're growing in some form or fashion, and we need to also contribute to others around us. And when we get those two, we feel fulfilled in life. The other four are still needs, but those aren't necessarily leading to fulfillment. And why I mention those is because if we go through those six human needs and we recognize which one is the top one that I most meet, that in my life, I find that one has to be met most. The others are there, but that one's mostly met. Or if pertaining to this situation, what need am I honoring? That's always such a rich question. Because for me, staying in my job was meeting my need for certainty that I could honor the value of responsibility and paying my bills, certainty if I knew a paycheck was coming, no matter what I did or what I felt like, all those things. So I needed to lean into uncertainty in order to make this move to honor my dream for myself. But having to create the certainty within that space of uncertainty helped me to bridge the gap that I was feeling and fearing was there without the certainty there. So you're exactly right. That is the key, is ask yourself, what do I have control over in this situation, or what can I gather control about here? Write that down. It may be more than you can think. It may be more than you thought that you had control over. And just that right there gives you the confidence, like, I think I may be able to actually do this. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it could be something as simple as, like you said, the financials. The putting the financials down on paper and saying, well, actually, I could do without this, and in fact, I could carry on for months along this path before I even feel a pinch. Or there are alternative ways, because if you don't go into something full on, emotionally, energetically, if you're still letting the fears and the doubts, they will block you. They'll block you. You have to believe that it's going to work. You have to be prepared to take that leap. And that doesn't mean you don't have a safety net. You still have the parachute, but you have to believe that the landing is going to be soft and the journey is going to be awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It sure will. When you have a belief in something plus a desire for it, like an actual wanting, those two things together and you shrink the doubt about it makes things manifest so, so much in your life. And it's the truth.
The truth.
Yeah.
Exactly. I had so much fun.
Yes.
Did Bridget's story have a happy ending? I know
It did. It did. It has a very joyful ending. I feel one of my top values, that's why I love your podcast so much. Freedom is my top value. And that is the one space of many that I wanted to honor when choosing to leave, because I didn't feel free to what I called own my days. I wanted to be able to wake up and do a podcast if I wanted to. So, freedom, I feel free to do and live my life the way that I want to. If I want to spend all day at the pool, I schedule that. I couldn't have done that before. I wasn't free. The fun bit, I'm having a blast watching people feel afraid and do it anyway, or create a vision for what they want. And after many months working together, realizing that vision and celebrating with them. And the fearlessness, it's not a matter of not having fear. When I think of fearlessness, I think of lessening the fear enough to make a move. And you'll do it over and over again, just like we breathe over and over again. I need to excavate my lungs in order to take in more air. I need to excavate my fear in order to take in a little bit more. And that is living. That is truly living. So, yes, it has a happy existence right now. The ending has been tremendous. I even still keep in touch with my old boss, and we've had chats about me possibly coming back as a coach. So that's even more fun to see that, it works out. And I've learned so many messages or so many great lessons along the way as well. So it's been rich.
And we mustn't forget that in a way there isn't an ending, because it's still an ever evolving journey.
It is. And I still feel afraid sometimes, still wonder, still can't believe. I pinch myself like, am I really working for myself still? So, yeah.
So it's an amazing feeling. And of course, I'm so excited with what will hopefully be next year now, where we run our retreat together.
Hopefully.
Another one of our fellow amazing coaches. Yes, fingers crossed for 2021 to bring those three values to so many more people. Be amazing. So, Bridgette, where can people find you? How's the best way to connect with you?
The best way to connect is Facebook or Instagram. Bridgette the Go Coach is there. Also, my website is the same name, bridgettethegocoach.com, and it's Bridgette spelled Bridgette, the Go Coach, spelled as it sounds.com. And then if you're on LinkedIn, I'm Bridgette Simmonds, Simmonds.
Perfect.
Yep.
Lots of ways to connect with you, the beautiful, wonderful person that you are.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being my guest today. It's been so much fun. I could just sit here and listen to you for hours. So
Oh, I could talk to you for hours and listen to you too, and us just banter back and forth. It's been such an honor, Rana, to be on this with you. So thank you for inviting me to be here.
Pleasure as always, my darling, pleasure. So that's all we have time for. I'm sure you'll all agree what an amazing episode. So please do connect with Bridgette. So many lessons to be learned. You know, she really can help with that transformation and, you know, that the understanding where it comes from our roots, from how we're brought up, and it's okay to feel the way we feel, but we also have power and ability to shift out of that and be free.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I am Dr. Rana Al-Falaki. My three favorite words to you to finish off is be free, be fun, be fearless. Bye-bye for now. Feel on top of the world with Light Changes Coaching. Do you feel like burying your head in the sand, hoping it will all be fine when you come out? Do you know what you want, but no idea how to get it? Are you stuck on the treadmill, repeating the same old patterns, wishing the answers would just be there for you? How great would it feel to have those answers right there in the palm of your hand? Well, did you know that there is a way to get immediate answers, fast resolution of inner problems, and quick access to a higher state of awareness? After 20 years of helping people, I have perfected a special technique that allows you to tap into your intuition. Connect with your intuition in just 5 minutes a day using this special technique, Dr. Rana's gift technique, the guided intuition and fulfillment training, and you can have those light bulb moments every day. So get what you want, a job that gets you excited when you get up in the morning, a relationship where you can look across the table and think how much you love that person, a body that you're proud to have and look in the mirror and absolutely love, a bank balance that you're not afraid to look at. My gift to you is simple, quick technique to access your intuition and give you the instant answers you need to get unstuck without having to do lengthy meditations. So head on over right now to lightchangescoaching.com and download yours.